The city that never slept was soaked in rain that night. New York streets glistened under the pale glow of streetlights, and the noise of traffic echoed faintly in the distance. But for Emily Carter, everything had gone silent. She stood outside the hospital entrance, clutching a crumpled bill in her hand, the total balance due for her mother's surgery. $14,670. Her bank account had barely $200. The storm outside was nothing compared to the one raging inside her chest. Her phone buzzed again. "Miss Carter," the nurse said softly, "we can't keep your mother here without payment. Please. We've done all we can." Emily bit her lip, fighting back tears. She'd already worked double shifts at the cafe, sold her car, even pawned her grandmother's necklace. But life, it seemed, had decided to test her limits. When she stepped onto the slick sidewalk, her old sneakers splashing through puddles, she saw a sleek black Mercedes parked at the curb. The window lowered slowly, revealing a man in a tailored suit. His eyes were piercing gray, his jawline sharp enough to cut glass. "Emily Carter?" His voice was calm, but it carried authority. She frowned, confused. "Who are you?" "Ethan Blake," he replied. "CEO of Blake Enterprises. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected love, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because this story will remind you that even the coldest hearts can change." Ethan Blake. She'd heard the name before. The youngest self-made billionaire in Manhattan, a man who built an empire in under a decade. Ruthless in business, untouchable in emotion, and constantly featured in tabloids with models, politicians, and scandals. She had no idea why someone like him would even know her name. "I have a proposition," he said, handing her a white envelope. "There's $5,000 inside. I need you to pretend to be my girlfriend for the next 30 days. Emily blinked, stunned. "Excuse me?" He looked out the window, avoiding her gaze. "My shareholders think I'm too cold. They're threatening to replace me unless I prove I can connect emotionally. They want to see a more human side, so I need a girlfriend, temporarily. Someone real, not one of the usual faces the media expects." Emily's heart pounded. "So you want to pay me to lie? Think of it as a business arrangement," he replied. "You'll attend public events, dinners, maybe a few interviews. After that, you'll disappear with a clean $5,000. I don't do emotions, Miss Carter. I just need cooperation." She stared at the envelope, her mind racing. Her mother's surgery couldn't wait another day. 5,000 wouldn't cover everything, but it was a start. "And if I refuse?" she asked. Ethan's tone was flat. "Then I'll find someone else tonight." She hated him at that moment. The arrogance in his tone, the casual way he reduced feelings to transactions. But she hated her situation more. With trembling fingers, she took the envelope. "Fine," she whispered. "I'll do it." From that night on, Emily's world shifted. The next morning, she found herself inside a penthouse overlooking Central Park, surrounded by marble floors, glass walls, and quiet staff who bowed when Ethan walked by. The contrast between her small apartment and his world of luxury was suffocating. He laid out a contract on the table, precise, clinical, and cold. Rules, boundaries, payments. She signed, feeling her stomach twist. At first, everything was mechanical. They appeared together at charity galas, art exhibitions, and rooftop dinners. Ethan played his role perfectly, a charming, attentive boyfriend before cameras and a distant stranger once the spotlight faded. He never asked about her life. He didn't smile unless it was rehearsed. To him, this was business. But what Ethan didn't expect was how genuine Emily was. She wasn't impressed by wealth. She didn't fake her smiles for reporters. When journalists asked how they met, she laughed and said, "He bumped into me while texting. I almost spilled coffee on his $5,000 suit." Her sincerity made headlines. The billionaire's down-to-earth girlfriend, the tabloids called her. Investors loved it. His company's image skyrocketed. Yet behind the facade, Ethan began to notice something he'd never felt before. Peace. He found himself lingering longer when she spoke. He started drinking the same cheap coffee she loved from the cafe near his office. Once, he even caught himself smiling, genuinely, when she laughed at something trivial. It terrified him. He'd spent years burying his emotions, building walls after losing his fiancée in a tragic accident 5 years earlier. Love, to him, was weakness, and weakness destroyed everything. One night, as they returned from a charity gala, the elevator halted between floors during a power outage. Emily sat on the floor hugging her knees, while Ethan leaned against the wall, silent. "You really hate emotions, don't you?" she asked softly in the dark. He didn't answer. "You act like caring makes you vulnerable," she continued. "But maybe that's what makes us human." He turned his head toward her, the emergency light casting faint shadows on his face. "You think I don't know what pain feels like?" Her voice was gentle. "No, I think you're still living inside it." For the first time, his mask cracked. He looked away, his jaw tightening. "I lost someone. Years ago. I told myself I'd never love again. It's simpler that way." Emily nodded slowly. "Maybe. But simple doesn't mean happy." Something inside him shifted that night. In the following days, he began doing small, unplanned things, offering her his coat when it rained, making her coffee himself, even taking her mother's hospital bills and quietly paying them off without saying a word. Emily noticed, but didn't confront him. For her, the line between pretending and feeling had started to blur too. Then came the gala at the end of their 30-day agreement. The night. Everything was supposed to end. The ballroom glittered under golden chandeliers. Cameras flashed as Ethan and Emily entered hand in hand. Everyone whispered about how natural they looked together. But beneath the glamour, Emily's heart was heavy. Tomorrow, she'd go back to her small apartment. Her part of the deal would be done. When the speeches ended, Ethan took the microphone for a brief toast. "A month ago," he began, "I made a decision based on numbers, not emotions. I thought I could buy an image. What I didn't expect," he paused, his eyes meeting hers across the room, "was to find something real." The crowd chuckled lightly, thinking it was a joke, but Emily's throat tightened. When the night ended, she walked outside to the balcony, tears stinging her eyes. He followed. "This was never supposed to be real," she said, her voice trembling. "But somewhere along the way, it did." He reached into his jacket, pulling out the original envelope she'd signed weeks ago. He tore it in half. Neither was I. The city lights reflected in his eyes. And for the first time, Ethan Blake, the man who swore he'd never feel again, looked fragile. "I don't want to pretend anymore, Emily." She hesitated, tears falling freely now. "Then what do you want?" He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. A second chance to feel alive again. The next morning, the tabloids exploded with headlines. "The billionaire who fell for his fake girlfriend." Reporters swarmed her apartment, asking if it was true. She smiled shyly and said, "It started as pretend, but the heart doesn't know contracts." Months passed. Emily's mother recovered, thanks to the anonymous payment that everyone knew came from Ethan. Blake Enterprises continued to thrive, but Ethan began spending more time outside the boardroom, volunteering, visiting schools, rediscovering life's simple joys. And beside him, always, was the woman who had reminded him what love truly meant. Their relationship wasn't perfect. They argued, they disagreed, they stumbled, but they grew together. Ethan learned that strength wasn't about shutting people out. It was about letting the right one in. And on a quiet evening, standing at the same hospital where it all began, Ethan placed a ring on Emily's finger, not as part of a deal, but as a promise. "No contracts this time," he said softly, "just forever." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, and never stop believing that love can change even the coldest souls. Special request, tell me in the comments, do you believe someone can truly change for love? As the sun dipped below the New York skyline, Ethan and Emily walked hand in hand, their silhouettes glowing against the city lights. What began as a transaction had turned into transformation, and for the first time in years, Ethan Blake didn't feel like a CEO. He just felt human, finally, beautifully human.